Previously on Making the Merge.
This episode is the PD and Jonathan victory lap episode. To share one. Man, let me tell you, I was giggling on my couch the whole episode. Kristen and I were watching in separate rooms because that's apparently what married couples.
All right.
This is devastating. I hate that. I hated that. In reality, I
like it.
Well, I like it for the show. Let's get that right. When the drama hits, that means Making the Merge gets spicy. And that means those listens go up, baby. So let's just, I don't know, let's get into it, I guess, because our victory lap's over, PD.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why, as the Making the Merge producer, I had to open by highlighting how me and Jonathan were on top of the world last week. We were just giddy,
Riding
talking
high.
about giggling, saying we love Survivor so much, talking about how this episode saved us, and now we're here.
Yeah, I'm just going to keep talking so that we don't let Chase talk. That's actually my plan for this episode.
Oh,
Because-
so the Jonathan usual.
Yeah. Oh, God.
It's hard to get a. It's hard for anybody to get a word. We could have Jeff Probst
Sorry.
on. Hey, Jeff Probst could be on this show, and Jonathan would still be like, "Hey, I know you know a lot about this, but let me get out my thing real quick."
Yes. Well, I feel like I do bring a unique view to the table that Jeff maybe hasn't thought of.
Or you would
that's all
just
I'm saying.
you would fact check Jeff and tell him he's wrong about something he's clearly right about.
There's a lot of animosity coming from Jonathan, and
Yeah.
I think we all know why. It could be because really he has no reason to be here.
Look,
he's not in the game anymore.
You're gonna punch a guy while he's down? Is
No.
that how this is?
This is why Jonathan is down.
I'm mad at myself. I'm mad at him. If this is what you wanted, if you wanted to end my story so soon, you shouldn't have put me on Survivor in the first place.
I actually missed Bhanu's voice.
Oh man.
Look, I mean, I know we could start from the beginning, or we could just talk about how the Bhanu tattoo has just been killed.
It's been
let's
murdered
start with that.
in the street. I'm devastated, Chase, because I wanted to ruin your body with a Bhanu tattoo.
Listen, guys, this episode couldn't have gone better for me.
Yep.
Like, literally, everything that happened in this episode was just a big win for the chase.
I don't like how you said the chase.
Well, that's me, baby. The winner.
There's a lot I don't like about what you said, but mostly the fact that it was a big win for you.
Yeah.
That devastated me.
More
because-
importantly than a big win for me, it was a huge loss for Jonathan.
Huge. Some would say this is the biggest loss I've ever experienced in my life. Yeah. I don't know. Job, maybe? No. No.
You've never had a relative die?
I have, but this hurt a little bit more.
I think. All right. We're getting a little carried away. Let's
Yeah,
try and get
y'all
some
are
sort
still
of
kicking
structure.
me while I'm down. Let's get me
But
back up a little bit.
It is hard for me to focus because I'm just like shaking from energy. This whole episode. Well, first of all, let's just talk about that great episode, right?
Well, first of all, let's talk
Yes.
about the fact we just finished watching this episode. So we're all
Yeah.
we're on that Survivor
fresh.
buzz. It's fresh. Like, we just wrapped it up less than an hour ago. So we're still feeling it.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's why Chase is super excited, and then me and Jonathan are very bummed, even though we can acknowledge it was a great episode of Survivor.
Yeah. Chase and I, we have this built up bitterness towards each other where when we don't get to release it, it comes out in a fury at the top of an episode.
There's a lot of
So,
sexual tension there.
some might say it's one-way sexual tension.
Yeah, but I think it's cute, so I allow it.
Oh, I freaking hate you so much.
Yeah, let's just start from the beginning of the episode.
Well, at the beginning, it was Jeff doing a monologue, and he went through every individual player, and I thought that was
Yeah.
really cool.
That was sick. Yeah.
That was my favorite intro that I've seen in pretty much any of the finales that I can recall, because it felt like he gave a very intense way for you to remember what each person was bringing to the table. And I told Kristen, I was like, why haven't I seen something like this before? Because this just made me so hyped for the rest of this episode.
I guess what we could do, because I mean, because this was a long episode, instead of us going through each part of the episode, let's just talk about the big moments that affected our Survivor draft a whole lot. So like right off the bat, we get the backlash from last week with Operation Italy, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We lost Caroline. That leaves us with Genevieve, Andy, Sam, Teeny, Sue, and Rachel. We have our final 6. And that's how this episode begins before we go into the first challenge.
And then Teeny immediately wants to flip. That was like the first event of this episode.
Rachel just like commando style, slithering through the woods to listen to them discussing the stuff right at the top. Whereas like Rachel's just in the shrubs listening as Teeny acts cool with it and Rachel just collects information. I like that they emphasize how dark it was so that they're just kind of addressing the elephant in the room where they're like, yeah, I know there's cameras and lights, but it's infrared. This is how dark it actually is. So she's not going to be seen. And that kind of grounded it a little bit more too, to make you realize how smart she was. Rachel's smart, dude.
Oh yeah, no, Rachel's a baller.
Yeah,
I was about to say that was a baller move for her to,
The first of
Tony
many.
style.
Yeah, very Tony style. Yeah.
that is very Tony. Yeah, it was very Tony. But yeah,
basically, Rachel gets all the information she needs. She learns exactly what happened last week with Operation Italy. Then she finds out about the idol that Genevieve claims to have. Now, she still thinks it's a real idol at this point. Learns all about Andy flipping, and then hears Teeny actively trying to flip sides. And this is all of the information that Rachel needs for the rest of the episode. For the next 2 tribals, Rachel uses this information to essentially
just blow up the game, dude.
take
we get
control.
it. Rachel is waltzing to the finish line.
Oh,
just
yeah.
an immaculate game at this point.
I guess Rachel like really blossomed as a player when she was under pressure for the last several episodes, where it felt like at the beginning of the season, if you had been like, I put Rachel on my team, I would have been like, who's Rachel? And maybe that was the best play that she could have done, is be like, I don't even know who that is. And then gradually you just see her building this game and gaining advantages and just slowly taking over stuff.
It all started, if we go back a few weeks, to when she was at the bottom of the...
Yep.
They did that weird double jury thing, elimination, where like half of the merged tribe was safe and the other half had to go to tribal or whatever. And Soul saved her with the advantage. Ever since that moment, it was like she knew she was given an extra life. She would have been going home, and she was like, I'm not going to waste it. The next week she was at the bottom and she turned it around. The week after that she was at the bottom and turned it around. And next thing you know, she's at the top of the tribe.
But, well, she's at the top, but this episode, she's at the top and nobody knows she's at the top.
Yeah.
That's the play that was so good. And we're skipping so much by talking that way. But the challenge...
Yeah, you just did it and then attributed it to
Chase,
us.
shut up. Stop talking so early about this stuff.
So after Rachel learns all the information she needs by sneaking in the middle of the night, we can skip a little bit to the first challenge of the episode.
Or we could talk about Sue. And
Yeah.
What, you just want to skip over the last player I have?
Yeah.
You want to deny me of my moment with my glistening, contoured dirt queen?
We don't know that she's your last player at this point in the episode.
Okay, good. Well,
You still have Andy.
Okay, if you're listening to a podcast about Survivor, about the episode, you watch the episode. I think that's a given.
Or you're consuming Survivor in the strangest way possible.
Yes.
Those are the only options.
Well, okay, talk about Sue a little bit then.
All right, so Sue was at the bottom. She lost her number 1 after losing her other number 1, and she's just digging. As we found out last week from Caroline, that Sue just loves to dig. So Sue is digging, and then Rachel comes up, and she's like, Sue, dig no longer, for
Yeah.
I have the idol that you search for.
And she knelt and worshipped, dude. It was kind of pitiful. I will say that was also very Bhanu energy of Sue, where it felt like she was reaching that level of desperation, where she's like digging around the well, being like, I know there's something here for me. I know that I can find something. This can't be where my road ends. You know, it was very Bhanu.
I don't think it was really Bhanu, because she wasn't crying.
That's true.
And yelling to God.
Well, she was crying, though. She cried when she found out Rachel had the idol. Did you pick up on that? No, probably not. So she cried when she saw Rachel had the idol. She was very happy.
So let's talk about the challenge.
Oh, you don't want to talk about Andy first?
I
I'm just gonna do what you did to me.
I love that we've now had like 4 different situations where it's like, hey, let's talk about the challenge. What, you don't want to talk about Rachel?
Well,
okay.
well, I was talking about the thing that happened before the challenge, but I think now that we talked about that, we should go to the next scene, which would be the challenge.
I thought you didn't even take notes.
I took some notes.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'll take my foot off the gas and let you lead the way.
PD's version of no notes is still more notes than me. So that's like, I feel like he has them.
My next
Still.
note, the next note I had was immunity challenge. Genevieve wins.
Yeah, that was big for me. I felt great in that moment.
I was feeling scared.
Yeah, I was feeling because in my dreams, right, is Genevieve just won immunity, which means she has this fake idol that if people are convinced is real in the next vote, then Chase is going to be like right on his way to the parking lot of the tattoo parlor, and I will be seeing him there. That's what I was thinking.
Just as a reminder for everybody, in case you haven't been around since the beginning, in our draft episode where we drafted the players, I thought that when Jonathan drafted Genevieve, it was so laughable that I made a bet saying that if she made it even to the final 3, that I would get a tattoo of their choice, and they chose a Bhanu tattoo.
Yeah.
And I will admit I was wrong. Like, she ended up... I didn't think we would remember her name. I didn't think she'd make it 2 weeks.
I was right there with you. I said it'd be impossible for her to make the final 3, and then she wins.
And she was
immunity.
Final 6?
She was my number 1 pick, and in reality, she ended up being my actual number 1
Your last
player.
person standing, yeah.
So I feel like the accuracy of what I was aiming for was like, it was in the right zone, but it just didn't pan out. It just didn't work.
Yeah.
She played it a little too weird, I think. But you are not
Keyshawn
gonna
ruined it.
Yeah, Keyshawn.
Literally. Keyshawn is the reason why Chase doesn't have to get a Bhanu tattoo.
Yeah.
And I drafted Keyshawn.
Yeah.
So
another W for Chase. Gosh.
Good-
When does it
everything-
end?
Everything coming up, Chase.
Stop.
All right, so the next scene is Teeny gets drunk because Genevieve gets to take 2 people
Which
to the
happens a lot
sanctuary.
this
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. This is like the 3rd or 4th time I feel like I've seen Teeny absolutely plastered.
But so Genevieve selects Sue and Teeny, which I referred to as a nightmare blunt rotation. And then Teeny immediately gets drunk and decides to spill Genevieve's secret, but Genevieve's like, "Whoa, this is working great for me because my secret is fake," and she it just further solidified that Genevieve had an idol to Sue.
That is a really good situation to find yourself in, where people are now spreading a rumor and a lie for you that they think that you don't want them to spread, because it's now completely out of your hands.
Can we also talk about, like, if it was a real idol, how Teeny immediately brought it up?
Yeah.
Like, it was instant. Took 1 sip of alcohol and was like, dude, your idol.
Dude, it did seem pretty quick that she just gave that up, but that's because, and later we find out everybody has this opinion of her. Teeny's a blabbermouth, and that was even called out in one of the tribals of this episode. They basically were like, if you want something to get out there, tell Teeny, and it will make it out there.
Which was a really rude, like, it was a shot.
It was a
when
shot.
Sam said that.
It was a shot, but like it's true.
Sue is talking about how like all of this stuff that Teeny and Genevieve are saying, it doesn't matter because I know Rachel has the idol. So like they can say whatever they want.
Yeah.
So good on Sue. I guess Sue's loyal. Sue is going to be my ticket to to winning this game.
Can I be very frank about something? I'm glad that I won't have a no vote this season because I've had no votes every season of the draft. But I'm just glad to know PD's going to have the no vote this year.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Caroline's on that jury.
We do. That's exactly right. And we do not know who's going to be in the final 3 yet.
If I were playing, I would want to take Sue to the end because I just don't think. Anyway, let's keep moving.
All right. So the next scene was Rachel, Andy, and Sam, the last 3 goddesses on the beach. So they're on the beach, and Rachel's really playing it up. She's crying. She's like fully accepting, in air quotes, her demise. And then Sam and Andy are just like, sorry, but we got to do this. You're such a great player.
They really let their arrogance get to them.
And I want to explicitly talk about what Andy did.
Oh, man.
Because Andy
Can we not? Can you shut up?
So here's the thing, because at this point in the episode, PD still has 2 players left in the draft. At this point in the episode, PD has 2 players left in the draft. He has Andy and he has Sue. Me and Jonathan both only have 1 each. Kristen has 2 or 3.
She has 2.
2, right? Yeah.
She just lost Caroline, so she came into this one with 2.
Oh, okay.
So, statistically, PD very much has the odds at this point in the episode. And so I'm thinking Andy's making it final 3. And then Andy pulls Rachel aside. And Rachel's like, hey, do you want to work with me? Like, kind of giving him an opportunity. She might have even told him about the idol if he wouldn't have been like this. He immediately goes, you're going to be on the jury. But once you're on the jury, I hope that, we can still be friends. Essentially blatantly being like, hey, I expect your vote when I get to the final 3.
Dude, it was worse than that. He was he's like,
worse.
Here's all the moves I've made. Here's how I've screwed you over. And here's why I'm such a great player. So please like me and consider my case. And he's building his case to a person who has an idol.
But the thing is that, remember, she kind of offered a plan to him. And then he at first was like, I'll consider it. And he just, the way that he kind of communicated, I'll consider it, was like, I'm in control now.
Yeah.
Because he was the godfather after Operation Italy.
Dude, just his whole vibe around that was like, dude, you're not playing it cool. Like,
so
this is not going to work.
Because at that point, Rachel was going to use her idol to eliminate Sam. But when Andy runs his mouth like that, she goes, maybe I'll take out Andy instead.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the tribal council.
Yeah, dude, my notes were Andy fumbles hard and then tribal.
Dude, this tribal was crazy because we all as an audience know everyone's voting Rachel, and we know that Rachel has an idol. No one else knows that Rachel has an idol. So this tribal council it's very similar to a lot of the tribals we've seen in previous seasons, ever since the beginning of Survivor, where everyone has decided who is going home.
Yeah.
And usually those are the kind of episodes where it's like, do we even need to vote? And everybody goes, no. And the person gets up and leaves. Like, that's happened before.
Well, and they kept saying that it was that they were at her funeral.
Yeah,
the rest of the tribe was calling it her funeral all day long.
Yeah.
Which is so bad.
Well, it's just so arrogant, right?
Yeah.
Especially
Were
when
they? I thought she was calling it her funeral. I don't
Well,
think they were going like, it's your funeral, Rachel.
She communicated. They were maybe not that blatantly, but they were. She was saying it to them some, and then they were like, "Yeah, it kind of is." And then at tribal, they were all like, "Yeah, this is her funeral." Like, we basically were like, "We're gonna lose Rachel tonight." Like, it was very.
Yeah, they were very matter of fact about you've played the best game and you have to go, which would have been great. Wouldn't have had any blowback if she didn't have a secret idol.
An absolute baller move tonight from her.
She plays the idol, and now everyone on that jury sat there and listened to each person talk about, sorry, Rachel, it's your time to go. You've had the best game. You've won challenges.
Dude.
You've played these moves. You're the best player sitting here, so you're going home. And then she stays.
Exactly.
And everybody on the jury is losing their mind for Rachel.
Do you remember what she said? Because it was such a baller quote.
It was the quote of the whole episode was
The whole season.
Jeff
maybe.
being like, does anybody have an advantage or hit an immunity idol? And she's like, the best part about having your funeral is knowing you're going to wake up the next morning.
Yeah.
And then she's just like plays the idol. And as soon as she says that, I saw Sam's face like drop because he thought he was going home.
Which,
for sure.
yeah.
And I was praying that he was going home at that point.
Me too.
Well, dude, what I thought was so funny is the second she pulled up the idol, everyone sitting there, Teeny, Genevieve, everyone was like, whoa, this is awesome, except for Sam.
Yeah.
Sam was like, oh, no.
Dude, he thought he was the one. He definitely
I
thought
thought
he was the
the
vote.
I thought he was
I
going
did
for
too.
sure.
I was really hoping so, but nope. It turns out that my boy, Andy, who I've been on an incredible journey with, he thrusted too close to the sun. And that's it for his game. And I'm upset. I'm disappointed. But above all else, I'm so proud of Andy and how much he turned his game around and the moves that he pulled off while being doubted the whole time.
Yeah.
I think we should take a second, since PD has officially lost Andy tonight, and let's talk about the last time that PD lost someone like this, and that was with Bhanu.
I thought you were going to say
Andy-
Charlie.
No.
Charlie was devastating too.
Andy played a game that Bhanu could only hope and dream of playing.
Yeah, I said last week that Andy was what I dreamed of Bhanu being. I really had this vision of like, what if Bhanu just does a 180 and then he has such a good case to win the game. That's exactly what Andy did, just without cursing God for putting him on Survivor.
Bhanu just didn't have the calculating part of his personality.
Yeah.
That's the thing that saved Andy for so long.
Let's take a moment and just give a round of applause to Andy for making it to the final six.
Yeah. I'm trying to
I'm
clap.
holding
I
my
was-
mic. Sorry.
I'm
yeah,
trying
I
to
can't
not
really
drop. Yeah.
banging on my desk.
Andy went from someone that I thought, man, like, how is he getting drug along this whole time?
Yeah.
To then gradually being like, well, Andy's flipping, but at the right times. And then with the last episode, I was like, Andy's playing hard, and he's really turned it around. And that's what I think really sucks about his loss, is that you feel like he fought so hard to get back up, only to then ultimately ruin it for himself because he just it went to his head too quick. He like felt too safe too fast. And so Andy, I'm sad to see him go. But he played hard. He played a hard game.
Yeah, he was responsible for last week being one of the most entertaining episodes of the new era, maybe of Survivor history, and just the laughs that he gave us during challenges too. I mean, Andy, I think he's definitely in contention for making the merge MVP, like of the TikTok.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely. I feel like this season there has been a whole crew of people that are like standout players compared to like the most recent seasons.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, definitely. There's no Sifu. I don't know why. I just threw it straight at Sifu.
Why straight up?
Well, I would say,
Sifu?
dude, there's people pre-merge this season that are very memorable.
Yeah.
Rome, especially. Like Rome being an all-time
dude.
pre-merge boot.
Somehow Rome feels like it was a year ago. That's the thing, is I feel like that was an eternity ago, but it was only a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So after Andy gets voted out, our draft wise, I still have Rachel in as my only player. Jonathan has Genevieve as his only player. PD is now down to just Sue.
Which I immediately texted PD and said, "You could still win with Sue." To which Chase replied with a lot of laughter, as if that's not true. Chase, like,
Not
I,
even
I
slightly.
disliked it.
yeah, you did dislike it, which
yeah.
really showed me.
Because after going on Sue's Twitter, I can't root for
Yeah.
her.
The tsunami is rising,
Motherquake, brother. Let's talk about that for a second. Do any of us think that Sue has the slightest chance of winning this game?
I think she has a chance of getting one vote.
Yeah,
And that would be
I
Caroline's
think
vote.
so.
But Caroline's a smart person. If Sue and Rachel are there, I think Caroline's going to make the right decision and go with Rachel.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Here's the silver lining over on Team PD. Here's the one cope that I can cling on to. If Sue makes it to the finals, that will be 4 straight drafts of me having a player in the finals.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're kind of killing it.
I have never had a player in the final 3. So and this is still a big if, Rachel might not make the final 3. If Rachel makes final 3, this will be a huge season for me all around.
Oh yeah, yeah,
You get the trophy, you get the jacket. This is the first podcast version of this draft,
Yeah.
so it's
I'm
wow.
I'm worried. I'm worried because there's a huge part of me that wants Rachel to win, right?
Yeah.
However, I don't want Rachel to win because then that would mean I'm the only Jody Newell player to not have a win under my belt.
yeah.
And that would be, I don't know if I can take that.
Just a quick thing. I don't think we've talked about Jody Newell much at all. Maybe
yeah,
if
that's
ever.
true.
So here's a quick summary.
We talked about maybe at the top of the season.
Yeah, maybe. But just for all the new people who have come on board, I ordered a trophy for this draft. The trophy they sent me was addressed to Jody Newell. So we started calling it the Jody Newell Survivor
Yeah, it was
Draft.
for a chili cook-off at a
Yeah.
bank. Yeah, it's a classic mix-up that has now permanently named our draft league or
Yeah.
whatever.
And I was like, I could return this and get my $10 back, or we could name the entire draft after this person.
Yeah,
And we made the right call.
I agree. I think so.
So Chase is in pole position to win the Jody Cup, but the next scene that we got was Genevieve and Rachel. And they're just like openly like, no, I want to get you out. No, I want to get you out. Like,
I hated that, dude.
Yeah.
Oh my word, it is terrible. I hated that whole scene because I was like, guys, this is going to only annoy the other players around you,
And
which
it
it
did.
did.
It annoyed me.
It made them so mad. It made me upset that Genevieve was still there, and she's my player.
I thought it was awesome.
Okay.
But let's be honest though. It was true. They are
Yeah.
the only 2 big players left at that point in the game. The other 3
Yeah,
were
it's
sitting
just
there
a
like,
bad decision.
hey, we're still here. We still are just as capable of winning. No, you're not.
I think Sam
Sue,
has a good
Teeny, and
underdog
Sam?
story, though.
Yeah.
Maybe, but he doesn't have the jury votes, dog.
Yeah.
The only way that Sam can win in the final 3 is if he's in the final 3 with Sue and
Teeny.
Teeny. Yeah.
Yeah. But even then, I kind of feel like I feel like Teeny would give him a run for his money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Or maybe
The
even
prob-
Sue at that point.
honestly, yeah, we were left with kind of these interesting characters sprinkled in where their gameplay is not very predictable and it's very open in many ways.
So we go to the immunity challenge, and the challenge is you have to stand on this board that makes your legs shake. You're trying to balance, and then they're stacking these balls, and then this circular thing on top of the ball, and then you have to get like 6 or 7 of them.
It was 6, yeah, and they all struggled, and I wish they had put a clock up to show how long they did this challenge. That's
That
the
would've
one
been
thing I
cool, yeah.
wanted, because they didn't show how long they were standing and trying this challenge, but they all failed numerous times.
Yeah.
Genevieve was so close too,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Genevieve and Rachel, the only 2 that even came close.
Yeah,
and that was the way it was in the first challenge. It was Genevieve got way ahead in that puzzle, and then Rachel was trailing her, but Genevieve did a lot better in that first challenge. She really crumbled during the stretch, and then Rachel just like with the stone face, like taking her time at the end. It was, I hate how much I like Rachel. I think that's what I'm struggling with right now.
Such a good player, and it's one of these things we don't see this often in Survivor seasons, but when you do, and we've seen it several times this season with Saul as well. Just everyone, like it's just a super likable person that everyone seems to like.
Yeah, look, I'll drop the shtick now of hating Chase and Rachel. Rachel's awesome.
Yeah,
just gotta admit it.
And so is Chase.
Rachel is awesome.
You ready for this? I think you've got the win in the bag, Chase.
I hope
think
so, man.
You do.
Because we were talking earlier in this podcast where how Jonathan said that he hopes I don't win because then he'll be the only one that hasn't won.
Yeah,
me and Petey started this thing just the two of us.
That's true.
Just the two of us.
Nice, Petey.
Thank you.
I have watched pretty much every single season of Survivor. Kristen already got a win before me. If you also got a win before me, I would lose my mind.
I do feel like you deserve a win more than me.
Yeah.
Because this season I had math on my side where I was like, how can I look at statistics?
Just like Andy.
And I went the Andy route, and you know what? Just like Andy, I got really dang close to the finale. But I didn't.
Just like Andy, you went out in this episode because of your decisions.
That's true. It's true. I let my arrogance of last episode. Last episode, I got too arrogant, and then now I'm crashing out.
Let's talk about how Sam is nervous, and his only play left in the game is to flip on Genevieve after flipping with Genevieve in the previous episode, and it worked in the sense they got Teeny to believe that the idol was fake, but the problem was it was Teeny who believed it. Mm-hmm. And so nobody else believed Teeny because they showed an entire montage of Teeny being gullible.
It's a great edit, a phenomenal edit of just all of her blunders in weird scenarios and things that she thought were going on and they weren't. And so her credibility for the rest of the tribe was so low with this.
Yeah. I just want to say, leave Teeny alone, first of all, because Teeny is not Liz Wilcox. We have to put that out there. A lot of people were comparing Teeny to Liz, and that is just ridiculous.
Well, they compared her crash out to Liz, and I'm like, okay, yes, Teeny was upset, but, like, we didn't get Applebee's level screaming from Teeny by any means. And like, not even close.
Teeny, in the middle of it, dropped a banger impression of Sam, which Liz Wilcox could never do.
Yeah.
Well, if Liz did an impression of Q, it'd be problematic. Probably.
If she was just like, I'm the best real estate agent in the world.
She's like, big mistake.
So, yeah, I'm defending Teeny now after, lightly ribbing Teeny in the previous episode.
Yeah, people got a little too mad. Yeah.
People being you, Jonathan.
What? What do you get?
In our group chat, you were furious about Teeny.
I'm furious at Teeny's gameplay. I'm furious about
semantics.
I'm fine with Teeny. If I see Teeny in the streets, I've got no beef with her, right? Like, we're cool. I mean, unless she listened to this podcast, then she might be mad at me. I don't know.
Or if she looked at our TikTok comment section. But here we are on the podcast saying, leave Teeny alone. Teeny's cool. Teeny just, had a moment.
Yeah.
And we've had like 12 of those on this podcast.
Yeah. I mean, this whole episode started with Chase and I basically assaulting each other verbally for 5 minutes,
I didn't do that.
And I'll do my best to make sure it's 30 seconds instead of 5 minutes. So you're welcome.
Oh, okay,
listeners.
cool.
But I got to cut down on the runtime where I can. But so yeah, Teeny, we get that montage, and then Teeny tries to go tell Caroline. I mean, Caroline's not in the game anymore.
What?
Teeny tries to go tell Sue and Rachel that the idol is fake, and they're not buying it because all Teeny has done has been lied to and believed it. So why would you believe it from Teeny? But Genevieve has been such a great liar that they didn't want to believe that either. And they're like, Genevieve and Sam, this could be another elaborate plot when really it was the first time they were telling the truth.
Yeah, the Operation Italy really threw everybody, and that was my one glimmer of hope of Genevieve surviving this episode, was that the distrust level was so severe for her that they would go with Sam. But it was just funny to watch Teeny really, really try to convince everybody, and everyone be like, I don't know if you're like correct the whole time.
And was that it? Was that like our last scene before the second tribal?
Pretty much. So going into the second tribal, Sue has to play her immunity idol. Mm-hmm. This is her last chance to use her immunity idol. So we all knew as an audience going in, Sue is safe. We also know Rachel is safe because she won the immunity necklace. So I'm going into Final Tribal, and I'm like, dude, no matter what, like, this is great for me. The only thing that is up in the air for me, and I was stressing about, was if Genevieve makes it through this tribal, then she'll be going, to fire if she doesn't win. So it's like, it's really up to this moment here to whether I get a Bhanu tattoo or not.
And so, believe me, I was, when the votes started getting looked at, I stood up from my couch and like stood next to my TV. It was like I was watching a really intense sporting moment.
Yeah.
But I was watching a man read names off of cards. So
before Jeff even started counting the votes, like, I was doing the math in my head because I was like, okay, Genevieve is going to vote Sam to try to save herself. Teeny is probably going to switch and vote Genevieve. Sam is voting Genevieve. And then I was like, Rachel and Sue are both voting Sam. So I was really sure that Sam was going to go home.
See, I thought that Teeny was going to vote Sam.
Me too.
For him, because I thought that she was going to like chicken out, because at one point they showed her at the card and she was like, I don't know. And when she said that, I thought, oh, she might flip right now.
And she whispered to Rachel.
Yeah.
Because the plan was for her originally to vote for Sam. But then remember, she leaned over to Rachel and was like, should we vote Genevieve? Rachel thought the idol was real.
Yeah.
So they didn't want to vote for Genevieve because they were like, she'll play her idol and then whoever Genevieve voted for goes home.
Yeah.
So the plan was for them all to vote Sam. And then Teeny, I knew, was flipping to Genevieve.
Which is devastating.
Yeah. I was so shocked when Genevieve went home.
Dude, I felt sure that Sam was going to go home, but I was, again, standing watching the television. And, whoa, this music.
Let's just put a sound effect in there.
Just,
just to throw you off a little bit.
It really did work.
When Genevieve's name got read out and it was official that Genevieve was going home, there was a lot of feelings tied into all of this, right? That's Jonathan's last player. So Jonathan is officially out of the draft for this season.
Yeah.
PD and Jonathan are rooting for me to have to get a Bhanu tattoo.
Jonathan, Kristen, and everyone who listens to the show was rooting for you to get a Bhanu tattoo.
I had more than anyone at stake in this because...
First of all, you made the bet when we had no audience.
Yeah, that's true. We had like 6 people listen to an episode, and you're like, I'm going to make a bet that I will have to have permanent ramifications for.
Hey, well, yeah, and here's the thing. I was going to, like,
You were going to do it. Oh, yeah.
100%.
I 100% believe you.
And here's the thing. I was kind of, if I could be honest, like, I didn't want to, but I was kind of looking forward to it. Because I thought that would just be so ridiculous.
Well, I was looking forward to a road trip, right?
My wife has been furious with me since I made the bet. She was like, why would you do that? But she was like, why would you even make that bet? And I was like, because I'm a showman.
Yeah.
I know how to entertain the people. And can we just talk about for a moment how in the first episode, I make the wildest, outrageous accusation. Genevieve won't make it to the final 3. She makes it to the final 5.
Literally
right on the line.
Close.
Yeah, she was one episode, one vote away from being in the finale.
Which hurts terribly
Yeah.
for me. It is the
sucks so
emotions
bad.
I felt seeing her name pop up on that last card. I mean, there was the realization of, oh no, my player's going home. Then it was the wave of, oh no, that was my last player. Then it was a wave of, oh no, Chase isn't getting the tattoo. And
So you really have nothing to look forward to.
I
Yeah.
have nothing in life anymore.
Actually, Jonathan, and we had decided this a few days ago. During the off season, Jonathan is now tasked with writing a recap of Elsbeth that he will have to come on here and recite to us.
I don't know if you listened to the episodes you weren't on again, Chase. but-
I heard it. I heard it.
Okay, yeah, it's a real thing. So I am willing to do it. I'll watch Elsbeth and suffer through it.
Oh,
So,
poor thing. I
feel
was
bad
gonna
for
get
me,
a
Chase.
tattoo. And you're gonna
look. I can't erase the memory of Elsbeth from me. So I feel like it's kind of on par with getting a tattoo. It's like a permanent thing. Watch me get hooked. Honestly, watch me watch one episode and all of a sudden be like, guys, I gotta watch Elsbeth tonight.
I have no disdain for Elsbeth. That is a purely PD bit since day one.
Here's the thing. The disdain I have for Elspeth is that they advertise it like a Disney Channel show at the bottom of the screen every 35
That's just network
minutes.
TV, bro.
And there was that one time where she pointed at Jeff's crotch.
Yeah, there was that.
That's baller, dude. That's baller.
You know what? You're right. I'm excited to watch Elspeth after that.
Yeah.
So before we get to the end of this episode, I think we need to point out kind of the elephant in the room, mostly because Kristen isn't here, so we haven't brought her up. But she has 2 players still left on her team going into the final episode, and that's Sam and Teeny.
And that's the same as it was last season, by the way. She had 2 players going into the finale.
Yeah, when everybody else had 1. Well, except for me, I didn't make it to the finale.
Yeah, I'm feeling very Chase-like this season, you know?
Kristen, she did text us. I was trying to find that. She said, y'all better mention how I've got 2 out of 5 of the final players, just like last season. Or 2 out of 4 now.
Yeah,
So,
2 out of 4.
But the problem is they don't matter, and they're not going to win. So
That
it's
is
nice
true.
that you have them, Kristen.
I mean, can we talk about that for a second? Like,
Yes.
What is the final 3? Do you guys think is the final 3?
Rachel, Sue, and Teeny are the final 3.
Really? Because I mean, the final 3 is decided by the fire making
Oh
challenge.
yeah, that's true. So it's really unpredictable. But who goes into
'Cause
fire then? Teeny
who-
and
so-
Sam?
Let's do it like this. Who's most likely to win the challenge next week? I think it's between Rachel and Sam to win the
Yeah,
challenge.
Unless it's like a
Sam
balance thing and Sue can do it.
Sam
Right.
needs to win the immunity if he wants a shot. And he needs to put Rachel making fire if he even
Right.
wants to win.
But
That's
here's the thing.
truth.
They've talked several times about how Rachel's really good at making fire.
Mm-hmm.
So if you put Rachel in the fire making challenge, I think she's making it final 3 either way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why.
Which then just
she's
gives her
waltzing.
another notch in the belt, right? Like just
Yeah.
another thing. I really do think that Chase, I've been mean to you this season, but I think you have the winner. I really do. I think you're going to take the win, and I think you made a great choice. So there you go. That's all I'm saying.
I think I've been saying for the past 5 weeks, Rachel or Andy. It's Rachel or
Yeah.
Andy, and
Yeah.
Andy's
Andy's gone.
chances. Well, I was about to say his chances to win. They did, get greatly lessened in this episode. But maybe maybe there's a little bit of hope for me still.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna all be devastated if Rachel goes home next.
Because then it's a Sam victory, right?
Maybe Sue could win it out over
Oh
Sam.
my gosh, dude! If I would be
You
so
win with
insufferable if I
Sue.
won with. I would hate myself if I won with Sue.
If PD won again for what is this? This would be your 3rd win.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
PD won a 3rd season with Sue,
Yeah.
with an
Sue.
out-of-pocket pick. Yeah, like it. I don't think Sue can win unless Rachel is gone.
She's
right?
tweeting.
well, here's the
Dumb.
thing. Here's the thing. She's won immunities.
Yeah.
She had an immunity idol that she found.
She was fiercely loyal.
Fiercely loyal to people on the jury. So if Rachel goes home and Sue's in the final 3, then Rachel might vote for Sue.
Another point to that, Kyle in his exit press, Kyle had no idea about the beef with Sue. So
Yeah.
in Kyle's mind, they were allies. So Kyle could vote for Sue.
Yeah.
Which is just weird to think about, that whole beef is just like, is he going to find
One-sided?
it? Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
like he never
It's
found
like me and
out about it.
Jonathan. I
Yeah.
have no clue that Jonathan had so much animosity against me.
I didn't even know I had so much animosity
Yeah.
against you.
I'm just mad at Chase that he doesn't have to get the Bhanu tattoo.
A momentary truth caused so much.
I learned a lesson the hard way that, 5 seconds of my honesty ruined my game.
And that's all from Bhanu.
I love Bonnie.
5 seconds of honesty ruined Banu's game. 5 hours of honesty from Andy ruined his this
All
episode.
right. So would you guys like to wrap it up with the most unhinged Jeff quote of all time?
Yeah, let's do it.
Absolutely.
I hyped this up last week. This is it's a great episode to bring this up on because it was in response to Jeff was asked how would he figure out if he was going to play his idol or not. Like if Jeff was on the island, what would Jeff do? What would be Jeff's process for figuring out if he was going to play an idol?
Uh-oh.
I wasn't a dog person.
No,
You better leave
Not
that in,
it.
dude. That's funny.
All right, so this is Jeff when asked about how he would figure out if he would play an idol.
So I think before the game started, I would try to plug my gut into a metaphorical Marshall stack. It's just a big guitar amp. And then I'd spinal tap it up to 11. And the moment my gut started stirring, it would hit a power chord so hard that it would blast the speaker so loud that I'd hear my gut. And so if my gut said play the idol, I'd be playing that idol because you have to survive each day in order to get to the next. And if you want to win, you have to play to win.
I don't think Jeff is a human.
I
He doesn't
think
know how metaphors work.
No,
It
you
makes
don't
me-
understand. He would plug his gut and he'd play the gut power chord. And
And this just makes me wonder all of the stuff that he says during challenges that gets cut. Because, like, he just yaps in a good way the entire challenge being like, oh, this is happening, this is going on, wow, this. And I'm like, there's sometimes out there for like an hour and a half. What else is this man saying?
Yeah, because here's the thing. You're never going to find a bigger Jeff Probst fan than me, right?
or
Yeah,
me,
I
I,
will
love him.
Absolutely. I will defend him to the day we die, right? That being said, he has reached the age where everything he says is pretty out there.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, what was, between this and then the other thing with the dog thing, it's just like,
Yeah.
I don't think he understands how metaphors work. Because they're like, hey, Jeff, tell us about what it takes to play this game. You know, courage is a lot like dogs. You know, sometimes, you know, they're out on the streets and they survive for weeks on end. But sometimes a dog is a lap dog and it stays in your house with you and it's not very brave. It's like, thanks,
I've-
Jeff.
I feel like Jeff. I have like a mental connection with Jeff, but Jeff is like a level 10 version of what I aspire to be, which is you start a sentence and you
Without
hope that it, but then you hope it ends up okay, you know, and so
That
you
is
just
your
keep
dream,
going.
dude. That is-
It's like he's living my dream where it's like, wait a second, that almost was making sense.
PD, ask me a question as if you're asking Jeff a question.
Okay, Jeff, if you had a feeling that everyone was going to vote for you and you didn't know how it was going to go, would you play your shot in the dark?
You know, shot in the dark is a lot like alligator's teeth. You know, you got a lot of teeth. And, you know, if someone was going to place their hand in my mouth and I knew I had one shot to chomp it down, you know, I don't know which tooth I'm going to choose, but I know I'm using a tooth.
That's solid. I like it. Here's my attempt at it. You ready? A shot in the dark is a lot like alligator's teeth. Wait, no, that's not what I meant. Okay.
No, that was pretty on par for you, Jonathan. Just taking my bit.
Yeah.
All right, well,
okay.
here's my attempt. You see, with the shot in the dark, you got to play it like it's a metaphorical piano. And you're trying to figure out all the chords, and you might get some of them wrong. But it's the fact that you tried and that you're out there on Survivor, and that's how you do it.
Okay, we're going
God,
to
I
talk
love
about
Jeff.
also that's how you do it, because
Yes.
Petey and I discussed this at the top of the episode before Chase was here when we were having our moment of peace. And so we were discussing the fact that we misquoted Jeff last episode by saying he said that's how you do it.
Yeah,
on
on the
a podcast
podcast,
clip.
on the pod, he said that's why you do it. But then I said that's how you do it, and I titled the episode "That's How You Do It." But then he vindicated us this week.
Yes, this week during the first immunity challenge, he out of nowhere says, "That's how you do it," in the same voice that we were talking about. Well, then I get really excited, and so I come into talk to PD and say he said the thing that we were talking about, and then that's when we realized he didn't actually say it, but then he said it, so we're okay. now.
Jonathan, you got to learn to when to stop your sentence.
No, I
dog.
can't do it.
We already
I can't
knew that
do it.
last part.
No, Chase, you don't understand. He said the thing that we
Yeah,
thought
no.
he didn't say.
Hey, you're giving real
But then
Jeff
he
energy
said it.
right now.
He said it. And, sometimes when you say things, it's like a Christmas tree. You go to a farm, you try to find a big, tall one out there, the nicest thing that you ever want to find. So you chop it down, take it home, decorate it, and make it look the best as possible so that when you present it to your friends and family, they're all really happy to
And that's
see
like
it.
Survivor.
Yeah.
Let's end this episode,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, that's gotta
Get
be
me
it.
out of here.
Bye.
Oh, that was it. Okay.